So we've obviously had a bit of a chat before about Dramatic Liaisons and how it's about the collaboration between the art forms and the communication to different cultures through art forms. Do you believe that stories are a universal way of communication?
I think so. Everyone follows a story. You know, if I say to anybody around the world, you wouldn't believe what happened to me yesterday. I was walking down the street. Everybody listens.
Yes.
It's a common human thing.
These foolish things, what would you say that message was?
Well, the message was that if you're open to life and to transformative experiences, it doesn't matter how old you are, basically. I think age is irrelevant.
Do you think that that message came across in the adaptation?
I think it did. I think it did very strongly, yes, yes. I mean, I think that in a way it's strong, in that way it's stronger than the book, because India in the movie is such a strong presence, such a vivid presence. We arrive, grey Britain, we arrive in gorgeous Technicolor India, street markets, colours, smells, sights and all that. And so in a way India hits us with more of a wallop. Well, I chose India because I had lived in Pakistan for 2 years, a long time ago, and so I vaguely know the subcontinent. I felt enough to write about it. But also because I thought that the Indian attitude to old age is very different than the European attitude, which is they keep the elderly in their families, they respect old people more. In India, English is hugely spoken, so English people don't feel they're in such a foreign place.
Before you wrote the book, I imagine you've been to India before.
Yes, as a tourist.
As a tourist. And did you go there again when they were filming the Best Exotic Marigold Hotel?
I did. I went to visit them on the set, and the hotel in the film is not actually in Jaipur at all. It's in the middle of the countryside.
Right.
So it's miles away from anywhere. And it was just lovely because an hour and a half's drive through, you know, scrub desert and goat herds and things. And then suddenly there was this mass of people and all these extras and catering wagons and this beautiful old hotel, which, as I said, is in the middle of nowhere. And all these lovely old actors were resting between takes on a row of seats with parasols, punkawallahs holding parasols to keep the sun off them. And they all jumped up and came running over and clasped me in their arms and said, "We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for your lovely book."
Do you think of adaptations? Do you think when you write a book it could be made into a film? Do you have actors in mind?
I do a bit, because I'm unusual in that I can do screenplays and novels. I do have at the back of my mind this scene would be quite good on the screen as I'm writing it. Just because I've got that sort of visual, I've got a visual sense, so I can see it very visually. And I'm quite a strong plotter. I do quite strong plots, which also films need.
Yes.
So, you know, the plots really carry the characters along quite emphatically sometimes, with big twists. I like that.
Of course, you also wrote the screenplay for Pride and Prejudice that came out in 2005. As a writer, how would you approach writing a novel compared to writing a script?
Well, a novel is very, very different. You can really explore the interior world of somebody. You can have pages of description of somebody's memories and childhood and fantasies and goodness knows what, you know, fears and loves. But in a screenplay, you've got to push the plot along. And so that interior world, the novel's interior world, that comes out through the performance of the actors.
Would you say that in film, for example, then the director has much more control over the story than the writer?
It's a good question. None of them would be there, as our actors said. None of them would be there if there wasn't the story which the writer has done. So that is the basis of it all, really. But once you finish the screenplay, it's really no longer anything to do with you. And it's quite a weird feeling because you have to give it up. You really are surplus to requirements after that because they have to take it over, and many, many hundreds of people and many, many millions of pounds and dollars are spent making a huge movie.
From what I understood, you still, even though you have a lot of experience with that, still find it hard to be sort of pushed away from your story, or not at all?
I do find it hard at the time because I'm very fond of the book, and I'm actually not too retentive. When I adapt my own books, I'm not too retentive to the book, because I know people don't like novelists who say, oh, this bit's so wonderful in the book, you know, I'm going to put that in the film, because nearly always it won't work in the film, in filmic terms.
Always wanted to be a writer or be in the sort of performance industry?
I like performing. I mean, I like doing this film. I like giving talks, and I'm always an extra in my own films.
Yes.
I'm not in Best Exotics. I'm not Indian enough, but and they only had a few people in the old people's home, which was the actors. I like it. I'm interested in performance. A lot of writers are quite shy, and that's why they write. They're shrinking violets, and they're lonely creatures. But I'm not at all like that.
No. When you're not collaborating and you're working on your own, I'm presuming you obviously get writer's block, or sometimes you don't know what to do. Is there someone you go to, or is there something you do that helps you work out what's going to happen to a character? Or
the best way to unlock it, I find, is to go swimming. I'm on Hampstead Heath. I mean, I live next to Hampstead Heath, and there's the Ladies' Pond, the deliciously named Ladies' Pond. It sounds so refined. And I swim there all summer, and swimming really helps, because you get into a rhythm, and there's something about being in water that releases stuff. And I've made up plots, quite a lot of plots. I usually get commissions for script work. Somebody will phone up and say, or phone my agent and say, we want to do a series. I mean, for instance, I'm doing an update of a Emile Zola story called The Kill, which is updated from Houseman's Paris to David Cameron's London.
Okay.
And I'm doing a series for the BBC based on that. So somebody approached me. I would
Sounds
never in 1,000 years to think of doing a Zola novel called The Kill. But with novels, I just think them up myself. I don't get commissioned. And I just go away and shut myself off, because novel writing is very private and isolating.
Who are aspiring to be writers and screenwriters, do you have any tips?
Well, I know you are,
yes.
So I will tell you them, and then others can take them as they find them. I mean, I've got several tips. One is to work every day. My parents were writers. My father wrote 120 books, and he taught me sort of office hours, which is very important, because you need sort of rhythm. The other one is have confidence. Even if you're shy and retiring as a character, when you sit down in front of your laptop, feel that these characters you're writing about are really interesting, and then they become interesting. Yeah. And another tip, I've got several, another tip is don't write. Don't think I'm now writing, because that will come out either formulaic or it will be like what you think literature is. Be yourself. Write. Be your best self when you're writing, and be in your characters. Don't worry about being funny, for instance. Don't think that writing has to be serious, because in terrific tragedies, irony and humour always lurks. And don't go out for lunch.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Deborah.
Thank you. Well, I'm honoured to be the first guest of the Dramatic Liaison project. Thank you so much for asking me. And the New Theatre Royal Portsmouth and Les Montreurs D'Image at Agen. Thank you so much for asking me, and it's been a pleasure, and I hope you enjoyed the film.